My name is Bob Whitney, and I graduated from Oklahoma State University in 1959, a very long time ago. At the time, my choice was to go into small animal practice, but the draft was in force then, and I was drafted. I had the opportunity to either go into the Army Veterinary Corps for 3 years as a lieutenant, or go into the service as a buck private for 2 years. And it didn't take me long to figure out that probably the lieutenant would be better, which started off 34 years in uniformed services. I really enjoyed the Army. I was stationed in Europe, and then they sent me back to school, and I received my advanced training in comparative medicine and laboratory animal medicine, and was then later board certified in lab animal medicine and started a training program for the Army. And that's sort of the beginning of my career. Set back from small animal practice by 34 years, and by then it was too late. So that's the start.
Sounds good. So I would love to know what your most interesting or unusual experience as a doctor of veterinary medicine was. I was reading here.
Well, that's easy. My most unusual and interesting experience was being selected to be Deputy Surgeon General of the United States. It was quite an honor. I spent 20 years at the National Institutes of Health, and in my 20th year I was selected to be Deputy Surgeon General, and I took that job and spent 2 more years in the Commissioned Corps of the Public Health Service as Deputy Surgeon General. And then when there was a change of the presidency, I became Acting Surgeon General of the United States for about 3 months, and that was very interesting.
What did you do?
As little as possible. I had some interesting telephone calls, though, from people who didn't realize I was a veterinarian, like, what do you feel about? How do you feel about euthanasia? How do you feel about birth control? I said, well, as a veterinarian.
It's pretty easy.
So, and that's the way it went.
Pretty cool. What exactly did you do on a day-to-day basis? As you're a Surgeon General, and I think of showing up on TV, telling people not to smoke. What did you do?
Yes, well, because I was the interim Surgeon General, I didn't really have anything to do as far as any kind of stumping for specific issues, because I knew there would be someone else coming along. My job as Deputy Surgeon General was mostly looking after the 6,500 members of the Commissioned Corps of the Public Health Service, and I found that to be a rather interesting couple of years. But the years before at the NIH, the 20 years there, were absolutely wonderful, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
That's fantastic. So we learned a little bit about why you were motivated to go into the Army and then go into lab animal medicine. Can you explain that a little bit more in terms of, once you got into the Army, how did you say, I'm going to do lab animal medicine, I want to be a monkey doctor? I want to write the monkey doctor book.
Well, the monkey doctor book kind of just evolved. There was an opportunity to go for graduate training in laboratory animal medicine at the Army's expense. And I just spent 3 years in Europe having a wonderful time checking Swiss cheese factories and generally enjoying myself. And I thought, that sounds like it'd be a lot of fun too. So I took them up on it and spent the 2 years at Ohio State, and while there worked in the Ohio State Med School vivarium with a lot of non-human primates, species I'd had no experience with before. So I just kind of basically evolved into being a monkey doctor, and when I went back to the Army, I went to the Army Chemical Center at Edgewood Arsenal, where there were, again, lots and lots of non-human primates. And as we worked with them, we realized that there was very little in the literature that gave us much aid and assistance, and so we sort of worked out a laboratory primate handbook at that period of time.
So what all did you do with primates during all your years at
Well,
NIH?
at NIH, I was in charge of the Veterinary Resources Program first, and then the Division of Research Services. and then the National Center for Research Resources, and all of those were dedicated to the production and care of non-human primates among all other species of laboratory animals for NIH research. And I ended up setting up breeding colonies in countries of origin like Peru and Colombia and Argentina, and traveling around the world looking at sources for non-human primates, places like Indonesia and India and the Philippines, and eventually helped develop a breeding program for chimpanzees in this country, because there was a real perceived need for chimpanzees in aid research. They weren't available from the wild, and that was good, and in order to keep chimpanzees available or extant as a species in this country, we had to breed them. So we set up a very intensive breeding program, and then as things happen, they weren't needed for AIDS research. So now I'm on the board of directors of Chimp Haven, a sanctuary for some of the chimpanzees that we raised that nobody ever used. And so it goes in biomedical research.
Can you tell me a good story about working with non-human primates? Because I imagine there's got to be a great story there.
Well, there are lots of stories about non-human primates, and some of them aren't so good. I recall you never wore a tie around a chimpanzee or a rhesus monkey, because they would grab it, pull you up in the cage, and strangle you to death. One guy learned the hard way, but we got him before he passed out.
Damn, that's crazy. Okay, so this is going to be probably a hard one for you. What's your fondest memory while practicing veterinary medicine? Because you've been everywhere.
Well, I think I'd have to say my fondest memory is probably also the funniest of all of the things that I've ever had happen to me. When I was elected to be a Deputy Surgeon General, I was very pleased with that, and I was working for, my boss was the Surgeon General, his name is Antonio Novello, and she was the current Surgeon General, and she's a pediatrician and Puerto Rican and has a wonderful sense of humor. And so when she swore me in, and I took the podium to give a little talk about it, the first thing I said was, I'm very proud to be the first veterinarian to ever become Deputy Surgeon General. And she grabbed the microphone from me and she said, veterinarian? I thought he said he was a vegetarian. So much for the big day.
Thrown under the bus.
Yeah.